Thailand priced out its tourists, and now retirees and expats are flocking here instead in 2025. Thailand's got a serious problem. The beaches are still beautiful, the street food is still fire, and Bangkok is still one of the greatest cities on earth in my mind. But here's the question nobody wants to say out loud. What if Thailand has already peaked? What if they've started the own cracks? In 2019, nearly 40 million tourists came here. Last year, 35 million more flooded in, and this year the numbers are actually dropping. Meanwhile, Vietnam quietly hit 18 million visitors in 2024, and Cambodia just cut visa fees while opening 2 giant airports. Is Thailand actually pricing itself out and pushing retirees and expats into the arms of its neighbor? And here's the real cliffhanger. Does Vietnam even want 30 million Westerners moving in, or will it crack under the weight like Thailand did in 2019? So let's dig into the numbers, the visas, the flights, the money, and then I'll count down my top 10 places you can actually land in Southeast Asia right now. Trust me, the number one pick probably still going to surprise a lot of you, and I'm sure you'll come at me in the comments. Let's have a chat about it. Up to you. The whole thing starts with a numbers game. If you want to understand what's happening in Southeast Asia right now on the ground, you have to look back 20 years to around the time when I first got here and first started visiting. In 2000, Thailand was already a giant in the tourism game. Roughly 10 million tourists a year were arriving, half of them backpackers with their Lonely Planet guides, the other half German package tourists and matching neon shorts. Meanwhile, Vietnam was still dusting itself off after the Doi Moi economic reforms, barely pulling in a couple million visitors a year. Cambodia, less than that, maybe 500,000. Angkor Wat had barely hit the backpacker circuit. Siem Reap was a speck of dust. Then the 2000s rolled around. Thailand doubled, tripled, then quadrupled its arrivals, hitting nearly 40 million before COVID, right before the pandemic nuked the industry. Tourism was contributing nearly 20% of the GDP. The streets of Chiang Mai, the beaches of Phuket were groaning under the weight of too many selfie sticks and cheap beer. They closed down my favorite climbing wall. Vietnam, though, a rocket. From 2 million in 2000 to 18 million in 2019, then back down to 17.5 million in 2024. A hockey stick growth curve unlike Thailand or anywhere else in the region. Cambodia is smaller but steady. 6.5 million arrivals last year, 3.5 billion in receipts. For a country that was essentially cut off from the world for 30 years ago, that's no small feat. But it's still a fraction of what Thailand pulls in a single long weekend. And now in 2025, we're seeing that whole story and narrative shift. Thailand is actually down year over year for the first time since COVID. Vietnam is still climbing, but can it handle it? Cambodia is gearing up for growth like a racetrack. And all of the numbers of these neighbors are starting to converge. But the question remains, is that actually a good thing? Flights, access, the arteries of tourism. Tourism is a big circulatory system. If you can't get the blood in, if the flights are expensive, scarce, or inconvenient, the heart doesn't beat. That's why it's so important that Cambodia has those 2 enormous new airports. And a city like Da Nang has a big, beautiful airport. But Bangkok's 2 airports are the busiest in Southeast Asia after Singapore. Phuket runs 24/7, never shutting down. And the White Lotus season 3 effect in 2025, you still have a place like Samui booked out months in advance with top whole amenities. Vietnam, though, has been making moves. In late 2024, Vietnam Airlines launched direct to Munich, Hanoi and Munich, Ho Chi Minh to Munich flights. Emirates started flying to Da Nang. There were booster routes to London and Melbourne. And that means a German retiree doesn't have to bounce through Bangkok anymore on the way here. They can just land in Hanoi, eat pho, and be on the beach in Da Nang in an hour. Same goes with people coming from the Middle East or India. And Cambodia, they played the long game. The new Siem Reap Angkor International Airport opened in November 23 and was already handling over 1 million passengers a year. And in July 25, the brand new Phnom Penh Techo International Airport opened up with room for 15 million annually, expanding to 50 million. Cambodia doesn't yet have that demand of Thailand, but they're building the runway for it, quite literally. So flights matter because they dictate whether your family can actually come visit. whether you can fly back to Toronto or Sydney for Christmas without selling a kidney, and whether a quick hop to Bali is going to cost you $80 or $380. Right now, Vietnam's connectivity is the hottest story in Southeast Asia, and Cambodia is setting up the chessboard for its next decades. But Thailand still has a very different on-the-ground reality than anywhere else. So let's talk about the visa game. Who actually lets you stay long-term or makes it accessible to you? It's boring, it's paperwork, it's the thing everyone often ignores until they're standing at immigration with a sweaty passport and a confused officer. And Thailand recently updated their visa-free stays to 93 countries. It's 60 days plus a 30-day extension. It could literally have changed by the time this comes out. It's great for tourists, but it's less helpful if you're trying to live in Thailand year-round. The LTR visa is good for 10 years, but you need 80K a year in income or $500,000 in assets to qualify. So for retirees with pensions or investment accounts, it's definitely doable. For a midlife guy looking to cut expenses and reinvent himself, it's harder. And visa runs are damn near impossible these days in Thailand. So Vietnam pulled off a coup in 2023 by expanding its e-visa to 90 days and multiple entries. But there was a time when it was a year. These things go up and down. Vietnam's is very affordable, but it doesn't have a dedicated retirement visa. That means you either do quarterly visa runs to renew, or you find yourself a job, get a business visa or a TRC if you consult or teach, or hey, eventually, if you really like sticking around like me, you marry a local. And I definitely know a thing or two about that, but the TT is not the easiest way to get a visa, folks. Cambodia is the simplest, a $30 US e-visa that you can extend to an ER retirement visa for a year at a time if you're over 55 and you show a pension or savings. So here's the thing, by the numbers, Thailand's still on top for now, but the data is clear. Vietnam is climbing fast, Cambodia is building airports for a future that hasn't even landed yet, and suddenly retirees and expats have something brand new in Southeast Asia. Real choice for affordable and high quality of life retirement destinations. There's options. You gotta weigh them. And if you're still sitting there thinking, all right, Evan, this all sounds good, but how the hell do I actually pull the trigger on moving to Vietnam? That's exactly why I put together my Move to Vietnam Masterclass. It's a 1-hour crash course where I break down dating, housing, cost of living, healthcare, and exactly how you get set up on the ground here for your first 90 to 180 days in Vietnam. You can watch it now by clicking the link in the description or scanning this QR code on your screen. If you're even considering a move to Vietnam, start here. It'll save you months of Googling and tons of expensive mistakes and answer all the questions you're gonna send me in emails or post in the comments and I don't have time to reply to. All right, sales pitch over. Let's get into the fun part. My top 10 expat landing spots in Southeast Asia for 2025. Some of these you'll know, some of these you've probably never thought about. And my number one, well, I've got a feeling it might surprise a lot of you, but this is still the best place for the majority of the people watching back home in the United States, in Canada, in the United Kingdom, in Australia, who are looking to escape the West and the cost of living crisis and live somewhere beautiful and affordable. Number 10 is Chiang Mai, Thailand. If Southeast Asia had a retirement starter pack, Chiang Mai would be on the cover. It's the classic lantern festival lighting up the sky, motorbikes weaving through old city gates, and a cafe scene that could give Melbourne a run for its money. You can live in a modern one-bedroom apartment in Nimonin for around $600 to $900 a month right now. Double what it cost 10 years ago, but still half of what you'd pay for an absolute shoebox in Toronto or San Francisco or Melbourne. The expat community here is massive, which is a blessing and a curse. You'll never be lonely, but you'll also bump into a lot of guys who look like me, ranting about the cost of Canadian health insurance or wait times over a cappuccino. And Chiang Mai is still a soft landing. It's safe, it's friendly, it's affordable-ish, but it's definitely not the secret it once was. And don't go in the winter during the burn season. And the same goes for our next destination in northern Vietnam. They're gonna be burning rice there basically from November until February, something like that. Number 9 on my list is a big city, Hanoi, Vietnam, the traditional capital of this beautiful country. It's big, it's old, it's nostalgic, it's smoky as a Vietnamese water bong. It's running on caffeine, scooters, and poetry. The old quarter is chaos, steaming bowls of pho or bun cha for a couple bucks, bia hoi on the sidewalk for less than $1. Just talking about it gets me salivating for a visit, The French colonial villas and crumbling yellow walls make you feel like you're still living inside of a Graham Greene novel with a soundtrack of honking Japanese motorbikes. For retirees, the draw is simple: cost and culture. A central one-bedroom apartment is still around $500. Street food makes eating out cheaper than cooking at home, and the expat areas are compact enough to be walkable with an occasional grab bike. Healthcare is improving fast with international hospitals like Vinmic and the Raffles Clinic in Tejo, but you'll want international insurance for peace of mind. You can use my Safety Wing Nomad insurance link below to get started here, mid-term, short-term lengths only. And yes, the air quality really can suck. Crossing the street feels like an extreme port. If you're the type who thrives on energy and history, Hanoi is Southeast Asian capital that feels the most authentic and romantic to me. In my humble opinion, Hanoian women are some of the most beautiful on the planet, and the Hanoian uncles are hilarious, gregarious, and half drunk, smoking darts all the time. Number 8, Phu Quoc, Vietnam. Phu Quoc is what Phuket was before Instagram ruined it. Picture turquoise water, white sand, and seafood barbecue on the beach for $3 a plate. You can rent a villa with a pool for under $800 a month and still have plenty money left over for coconuts and gas to fuel up your scooter. It's a great spot to kick up your feet, read a book, and learn to drive a bike around the ring road. The island's been blowing up though. There are now direct flights from Seoul and China, and resorts keep popping up like mushrooms after the rain. The risk here is that it could turn into a tourist zoo, the same way Phuket did by 2019. The opportunity, get in now while it's still a little wild, and head straight to Rory's Bar on the far side of the island, my favorite spot for a drink and a view and a little dip. If you're a retiree who wants to wake up to the ocean but not pay Bali or Samui rates, Phu Quoc is a sweet spot. Just be ready for some growing pains, patchy healthcare, slow bureaucracy, and the occasional construction site soundtrack with your morning coffee. Speaking of which, head to our next stop and you'll land at a massive newly built airport. The beautiful new international airport opened in 2023 and it's handled over 1 million passengers in the first few years. That's a huge upgrade from the old landing strip where you felt like the plane was about to touch down in a rice field, or getting off a bus and stepping into the throng of tuk-tuk shills at midnight like I did on my first stop here in 2011. Angkor Wat, Siam Reap. The scenic temples and river draw pace are still the draw, but the town itself is a treat. You can get a decent house for $300 or $400. There are riverside cafes, and the expat community is small but tight. Retirees love it because Cambodia has the ER retirement visa extension, cheap, simple, renewable every single year. The trade-off, of course, is the infrastructure issues that Cambodia still has. Healthcare isn't great. You'll probably be flying to Bangkok or Ho Chi Minh or, somewhere else if you want anything serious. But if you want a low-cost, laid-back lifestyle where your biggest problem is whether to cycle to the temples for sunrise or sit by the pool with a book, Siem Reap is a very real option for getting away from being away from it all already. So what are you waiting for? Honestly, grab the 1-hour Move to Vietnam Masterclass linked in the description below and get over here before we get back to the countdown and the top 6 on my list of landing spots for expats in 2025. I knocked it earlier, but number 6 is Koh Samui, Thailand. Samui is paradise with a Tesco Lotus. Blue water, palm-fringed beaches, yoga retreats, night markets. I mean, come on. There's a reason Hollywood set the White Lotus here. It's like Bali without the monkeys stealing your phone. It's a movie director's idea of paradise. The catch is that prices have crept up. Villas with a pool now start around $1,200 to $1,500 a month in the good neighborhoods. And since HBO filmed nearby, everyone and their influencer cousin is booking out the Airbnbs, which I wouldn't recommend Airbnb. For retirees though, Samui is still a dream if you can afford it. Decent hospitals, easy connections through Bangkok, and a mix of both laid-back expats and high-end tourists. But if you're moving here on a fixed pension, those rising prices might sting a little bit and might make you a little wary of a long-term future on the island. So number 5, another option in Thailand, Hua Hin. The royal family's old beach retreat just a short drive from Bangkok. Hua Hin has this faded grandeur to it, colonial hotels, golf courses, and a seaside vibe that's calmer than Pattaya, but cheaper than Samui. You can still get a modern condo here for under $500 a month, and there's a big community of European retirees who've been here for decades. You will definitely see a lot of the classic old bald white guys walking around the streets, the bars, the markets. That's just reality. The town has a slower pace. Think morning markets, seafood dinners, and sunsets on the pier. Plus, Bangkok is only a few hours up the road, so you're never far from big city hospitals or international flights. There are downsides, of course. It's not exactly exciting. If you're looking for nightlife, you'll be disappointed. But if you just want to retire with golf clubs, a beach walk, and cheap Thai food, Hua Hin is still a winner. I think it's also kind of on the come up for families who want to get away from all of it and escape the matrix. So I've thought about it for sure. Number 4 is Jom Tien, just south of Pattaya in Thailand. I know, Pattaya, half of you just clicked away, half of you are all fired up, but hear me out. For a certain kind of guy who might be you, the passport bro and the first timers in Southeast Asia, fresh off a divorce, this is the place to get it out of your system. A lot of people have bullshit and baggage from stateside and back home. Pattaya's a great place to learn to party. Pattaya's neon, beer, questionable decisions, but just south in Jom Tien, you've got long beaches, endless condos for $500 a month, and one of the most established expat communities in Asia. You got international supermarkets, clinics, golf courses, gyms, and a short drive to Bangkok's new high-speed rail. And if you keep it in your pants or pay for what you asked for, no one will get hurt. You'll be fine. Seriously though, if you're retiring solo and looking for easy company, this place is actually dependable, reliable. You'll find poker nights, expat pubs, and people who already figured out the visa game. The nightlife can be as wild or chill as you want it to be. Just be prepared for the occasional stag party, screaming, and loud music on the walking street while you're trying to enjoy your pad thai or just chat with a friend, because it's anything but quiet or easygoing. Which brings us here to Da Nang and Hoi An in Vietnam. Number 3 on the top 10. This is my backyard these days. Da Nang is the city that convinced me to stay in Vietnam, even after I left my career and retired early. Imagine a 3-bedroom villa with a pool for $500 to $800 a month, a minute from the beach in Son Cha with mountains looming like some kind of Japanese woodblock print. It's gorgeous. It's a stunning beach city. And it's not just the scenery, it's the lifestyle. You've got the cafes on every corner, a growing expat scene that hasn't yet hit critical mass like Bali, and one of the Asia's fastest developing coastal cities. Hoi An, just down the road, is pure romance, lanterns, riverside markets, tailor shops where you can get a custom suit for what you pay for brunch back home. Over the mountain on the other side is Hue, chill, capital, colonial. To be honest, An Bang Beach getting washed out by erosion last rainy season was heartbreaking to me. It's where we rented our first house here and was the closest I'd ever seen to a picture-perfect beach retreat. That speaks to the infrastructure issues that still affect Vietnam. It's catching up, but construction is everywhere. Nang's airport is getting busier, traffic is creeping up into tiny An Tung expat area, and Vietnam doesn't yet have an official retirement visa. But if you want affordability, growth, the best lifestyle, and the best damn beach I've ever seen, this is the closest thing I've found to hitting restart on life for the best cost. But okay, before you call me out in the comments, I'm doing this list for what I think will be the best place for most people to land. Not necessarily me, for you. Da Nang is amazing, but it's not for everyone. And the infrastructure isn't there yet. The beach side of the city is barely bigger than a town, and Son Cha is still spotted with empty lots covered in grass and rats. And that's why I still think about my old home and don't speculate on real estate here in Da Nang. I think about the real expat heartbeat of Vietnam, Saigon, Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam, which has a huge, massive, bustling expat community. Saigon is not subtle. It's hot, it's loud, it's chaotic, it's kind of insane. But if you catch the right wave on the ride, it can be glorious. This is Southeast Asia's new startup city. Skyscrapers sprout like weeds, rooftop bars buzz till 3 in the morning, and there's an expat community that feels like New York in the 90s. Creative, scrappy, half broke, half loaded, living on smoke and hustle, looking over their laptops. For retirees who want action, Saigon delivers. You can rent a Central District 1 or District 3 studio for $400 or less. You can eat banh mi for $1 and get lost in a sea of scooters that make Manhattan traffic look like a Sunday stroll. Healthcare is solid if you go private at Franco Viet, and the 90-day visa makes it easy to land and base yourself here to get set up. The airport is a total shithole, but it has connections everywhere, from KL to Bangkok to Europe to the Middle East. The downside, it's not exactly peaceful. Ho Chi Minh City is not restful. The air pollution is real. The noise is constant. And if you're looking for serenity, maybe rewind the tape to number 3 or 7. But if you want energy, opportunity, and a sense that you're living in the middle of history as it unfolds, Saigon is the place to land. And it's easy to hit the beach in Phu Quoc or Vung Tau for the weekend, or hop down to Lombok or Penang for a getaway. But is my old home the #1 best place for expats to live and land in the region right now? No, come on, not even close. You'd be kidding yourself. I just like it because it suits me. It's a bit wild and lawless and rough around the edges. It's a work in progress. But you'd be delusional to pretend it has even half of the expat infrastructure or community of our top spot and the #1 place on this list. Remember, the title of the videos, for all you trolls out there, was about a tourism clack. I'm talking about moving to Asia. And here we are at the reigning and undisputed Muay Thai champion of Southeast Asia. Bangkok is still the best city for expats in Southeast Asia. Why? Because it's the hub. You know, you've got 2 airports sending you anywhere in the world, world-class hospitals that people literally fly into just to get treatment, and neighborhoods for every flavor of expat. Sukhumvit for nightlife, Ari for hipster coffee, Tonglor or Thonburi if you want old school river life or new school relaxation and big city vibes. Don't kid yourself if you've never been here. This is the city and regional hub. It's only a year removed from being the most visited city on earth, and for good reason. It's got everything a human could ask for and a whole lot more. Day, night, or early morning. You can spend $1,000 a month for a sleek condo in the sky, or drop $300 for a modest studio. You can eat pad kerpow for $1.50, or splurge on Michelin-starred omakase. You know, with my wife giving her expert nod of approval, the restaurants in Bangkok are perfection. You know, there's Zen space in the park. There's gigantic lizards walking through town. But here's the twist. Nothing lasts forever. And it's hard to be king of the hill. Prices are climbing, crowds are back, and the government is already talking about rolling back visas. Vietnam and Cambodia are sprinting up from behind, offering cheaper costs, longer stays, new visas, and new airports to entice new arrivals. And you. Bangkok is still #1, but the lead is razor thin. Skate blades on ice. And for us, as in you and I, that's the best news possible. It means for the first time in decades, Southeast Asia isn't just one dream, it's many. You can pick your own flavor of paradise and perfection. You don't have to get stuck living someone else's dream. And if you're ready to figure out where's right for you, sign up for my newsletter, link below, costoflivingabroad.com/newsletter. I'm Evan A. I retired early in Vietnam, 42 years old. And if you're curious about how I retired in Vietnam, you can watch this video over my shoulder, or if you want to hear about more landing spots and places to chill out and retire and live in Southeast Asia, watch this video over my other shoulder.